Continuing coverage tonight on the heartbreaking death of a 17-year-old with cerebral palsy. Outrage in the town of Palermo in Oswego County as news is sinking in about the death of a 17-year-old.
Investigators say Jordan Brooks, who had cerebral palsy and lived in a wheelchair, died because of his mom and stepdad's failure to take care of him. We've learned both Lisa and Anthony Waldron are out on bail tonight after being arraigned on charges of negligent homicide and manslaughter 2 nights ago. We were there as Brooks's mother and stepfather were escorted in handcuffs, one after the other, into a courtroom in the town of Palermo Wednesday night. There were signs from people close to Jordan Brooks that he was in a dire situation, but they somehow were missed or ignored in terms of action being taken by the Department of Social Services. Investigative reporter Mary Keeler has been looking into this live in Palermo tonight. Mary, what have you found?
Someone could have done something. That's what I keep hearing over and over again, especially in the restaurant right here in the center of town, in the town of Palermo tonight. At DJ's Diner, we met Deborah Kersey and Vivian Landfear, who came for a Friday fish fry.
I love this town. It's, you know, you don't have to worry about, your home and things like that.
But both are appalled at the news of 17-year-old Jordan Brooks' death, who had cerebral palsy and who investigators say died at the hands of the people who were supposed to love and care for him, his mom and stepdad, who were arrested on Wednesday. Court documents say the teen would come to school and need his teeth brushed and his diaper changed, soaking through his wheelchair. Teachers, his one-on-one aide, and other adults reached out to Oswego County Child Protective Services multiple times, but they never removed Jordan from his home, and according to court paperwork, were even, quote, hostile and annoyed when Jordan's teacher called them to report abuse.
CPS let us down, absolutely let us down. Didn't do their jobs or take care of what needed to be taken care of, checking on things, removing him, sending services to help.
They should go back on them caseworkers that didn't really do their job, is what it boils down to. I mean, I know they're up against, and they can only do so much, but when they know that the kid was getting that skinny, it should have been an automatic takeout.
I reached out to the Oswego County Department of Social Services, and the commissioner sent a statement calling Brooks' death a tragedy, but saying this case is now in the hands of law enforcement. Does it make you angry that there were, people in his life that tried to sound that alarm and it seemed that wasn't answered?
Yes, that they didn't have enough. It's somewhere the system's wrong.
Also in that commissioner's statement to me earlier today, mentioning the fact of the responsibility of people in and around the lives of someone, a child who they suspect could be getting neglected or abused, and the responsibility that they have in the eyes of DSS and CPS to report it. And we know for a fact, because we have them, there are at least 15 statements from people in Jordan Brooks' life in some form or fashion that did just that. The commissioner not able to go on camera for an interview with me today.
It definitely was. Over 100 tow trucks lined the roads of Syracuse this evening in order to pay their respects to Ariel Martinez, the tow truck operator killed while helping a disabled vehicle on Onondaga Lake Parkway on February 24th. It happened despite having all of his safety lights on. Today, drivers came from all over the state to pay their respects and honor Ariel Martinez,
who was a hardworking Cuban immigrant who, by all accounts, was living the American dream when he was senselessly taken from us by a supposedly impaired driver who failed to move over for the move-over law.
The processional of trucks today was in coordination with the calling hours the family was holding for Mr. Martinez.
This accident could have been avoided. It should have been avoided. It should have never happened.
Move over. The message from the drivers was to plead for people to be aware and give tow trucks the space they need to do their job.
It's a safety thing. We want to go home. We're out here helping disabled people and police calls and accidents, DWIs. That's why we're out here every day, and we want to go home to our families at night.
Today, they drove through the city, past his garage, and to the memorial site where he was hit.
I have the privilege to drive Mr. Martinez's old flatbed with his wife and daughter in it when we leave this procession so they can see all of us. We'll be the first ones to arrive there, and I will be the last one to leave after she sees all the companies that came to support them.
Tow truck companies look at themselves as one big family, which is why the community has rallied together to help the Martinez family by picking up Mr. Martinez's tow calls.
All funds going back to the Martinez family for, so they have an income to survive still. I want to see them fulfill, and keep their spot and his dream going.
Now, this is the memorial where that processional ended, and whether they were going fast or slow, they continue to blare their horns, letting people know that it's important to be aware of stopped drivers, regardless of where you are, especially because there may be people working around them. And since I was here, someone came and paid their respects, putting down a flare for Mr. Martinez.
Joining us this morning is Lieutenant Malinowski. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy to be here as always.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We have a topic that you continuously talk to us about, and now it's getting worse as Syracuse police have encountered several juveniles this week alone committing crimes. The first one on your screen, suspects 12 to 15 years old involved in a Family Dollar employee assault and also a Facebook marketplace robbery, 13 and 14-year-old male suspects there. Lieutenant, what do you think is the solution? Do you think it should be more community-based programs? Do you think it involves reform or government? How can we rectify the increased juvenile crime here in Syracuse?
One of the biggest things is we're not talking about when a juvenile commits petty larceny, steals a piece of candy to send them to jail. That's not what we're talking about. So we agree they need to get the help, but we're just trying to say we need to be a little bit stronger on some of these laws about keeping these children at least placed in a facility that they can get the attention they need to try to get their behavior reformed. But I don't think that all of us have to continue to suffer after crime, and that's been kind of really what we're pushing is just can we strengthen the laws enough to protect the rest of us who are just trying to be good, productive citizens, and that's something we've been echoing. I do think now, and it's probably to your credit, I've heard some in the political world that they're trying to maybe reform some of these reforms because they've went too far. And I really want to say, I think it's because you've been talking about it for so long. Finally, people are waking up to coming back to some middle ground so we can have public safety, but also protect the rights of the accused. But again, how many more people have to get shot, stabbed, or killed before we actually do something?
And as we're talking about these public safety issues happening here in New York State and in Syracuse, there was news this week about the Syracuse police chief telling us that he has applied for another job outside of Syracuse in Olympia, Washington. I know you've gotten a lot of feedback about this. What can you tell us so far?
Yeah, so when the chief came in here, he was not a town chief, so we knew he wouldn't be here forever. Chiefs come and go. I think we knew this for a long time that was going to happen. He wasn't going to be here forever. But we have a pretty good organization that will continue on regardless who's the chief. I think we have some good people in the organization that if he does leave would make a good boss. And it's not only us. There's also an election this year for the sheriff coming up. So you want to pay attention to that to see who you want to run the county sheriff's office as well.
What does that say to the citizens of Syracuse that the police chief is applying for a new job and they may not know the fate of the leader of the Syracuse Police Department come years from now?
Well, no one's going to stay in a position forever, so there's always has to be a successor. So those in the community that have an interest in who their next chief of police is going to be, I would say that you have seen bosses in the community come out and go to your meetings. You've seen other deputy chiefs step up and talk about various topics. So if you feel that you know someone who's going to be a good future police leader of this police department, you're going to want to reach out to your common councilors, the mayor, and let them know we'd like to see this person be the next chief of police. But again, I would not be worried because, again, no one stays the chief forever. So eventually people retire or move on. So we'll be okay as a community and as a police department either way. But I do know he's still fully committed to running this police department. So if he doesn't get the job, we're still going to be in good hands.
And now it's time for your tip of the week. Syracuse Police celebrating Women's History Month.
If you follow us on social media, you'll see some of the historic impact women have made over the history of the police department. You know, believe it or not, women did not get into this profession early on. It was a very male-dominated field, so it's actually an opportunity for us to highlight the achievements in a relatively short amount of time. So again, if you happen to be on our social media pages, you'll see all the work that the women have contributed. So we're excited about it.
I am all about girl power this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, Lieutenant.
Okay. Maybe we'll put you on the page if you want.
I hope so. I've done a lot, okay?
Right, exactly.
If you want to ask Lieutenant Malinowski a question, feel free to email me at emmyjohnson@sbgtv.com. Lieutenant Malinowski will answer your questions every Sunday on Weekend Today in Central New York.